Now for our feature story of the day, fam. El Salvador's future lies in its Bitcoin reserves, according to Stacy Herbert and Max Keiser, the one and only. Shout out Max and Stacy. As you know, I'm a huge fan of the two. It's actually my favorite power couple in crypto, or I should say in Bitcoin, hands down. They were just recently interviewed from this news source, De Dinero, if I'm pronouncing that one right. And I'm going to read you some of the highlights. And before we dive into the content matter here, I also want to read you one of the quotes from Max regarding some of his predictions. I shared this a while back, though. This was like a year ago, but nonetheless still relevant because we haven't hit the targets yet. Here's what he wrote. Bitcoin is designed to be attacked. So when the EU says we'll need to attack the price of Bitcoin, that is music to the Bitcoiner ears because all the attacks mean greater hash rate, greater security, and higher prices. Bitcoin is designed to be attacked, and the more you attack it, the higher the price goes. So we welcome the EU attacks, the IMF, and Christine Lagarde, and the central banks and Federal Reserve Bank. Please attack me so that my price can go to 100,000, 200,000, 1 million per coin. Thank you. No, thank you, Max. I know it's destiny. I know it will happen. Only a matter of time. All we have to do is hodl. So here we go. El Salvador is currently sitting on 5,884 Bitcoin in its state reserves, according to data published by the National Bitcoin Office of El Salvador on bitcoin.gov.sv. In respect to them for, publicly giving us this info so you can actually see what they really hold as a reserve. Pretty lit. Now for Max, President Bukele's chief Bitcoin advisor, these holdings are a reflection of the bright future for El Salvador, as Max believes that all countries in the world will adopt the Bitcoin standard in the coming years. Let me repeat that. All countries in the world. And strategic reserves will put the nation ahead. Let's go. Adopting the Bitcoin standard will mean that all products will be priced in the digital currency, and transactions for all products will be made in that currency. We're talking about the Bitcoin. Bitcoin is perfect money. Gold is a very good it says gold is very good as a form of money, but it's not as good as Bitcoin. Bitcoin is perfect as a form of money. Preach. The future of El Salvador is in its Bitcoin reserves. It is a gateway to the future of El Salvador, and the more it has, the brighter the future is. That is why people buy Bitcoin every day. It is like when an individual saves Bitcoin, they are expectant for the future because their purchasing power increases. And great point. Your purchasing power in Bitcoin is mathematically guaranteed to continue to increase as it has been for the past 15 years. And your purchasing power of the dollar is mathematically guaranteed to decrease as it has been since the inception of the fiat Ponzi monopoly tulip bulb mania money. In this context, it's important to bring a bit of history to the table and understand why. Gold and Bitcoin are considered good safe haven assets. For centuries, gold has been seen as the best form of money due to its characteristics such as its durability over time and its difficulty to be mined, which ensures that it loses little value over time, and that is its scarcity has made storing this metal mean having wealth that remains almost the same over the years. However, although it has good characteristics, gold is very difficult to transport. So it was decided to create what we know today as paper money, which in previous centuries served as a representation of gold holdings that were difficult to transport. Shortly after that event, governments decided to centralize the world gold reserves as well as the issuance of paper money. However, the year that marked the destiny of what we know today as 1971, a period in which the U.S. President Richard Nixon suspended the gold monetary regime. Boo! It was decided that paper money would not be backed by anything. Throw tomatoes at that guy. And although there were people who own a lot of gold today, most people only know paper money. Preach. Which, as it has no emission controlled by the governments, as it's infinite, only grants inflation and devaluation, and it keeps the slave race enslaved. Real talk. Bitcoin emerged as a solution to the constant devaluation of money, as it works on a completely decentralized technology, which works if all users with nodes approve the transactions, which constantly increases the difficulty for its issuance and is limited to 21 million units. In other words, it is completely scarce, offering true scarcity. The first time in human history we have perfect money with true scarcity, family, and which cannot be changed because it is motherfucking immutable. Can I get an amen? The latter in detail is what makes it an improved version of gold, as it is conditioned by the movements of supply and demand. With a limited supply, any increase in demand will increase in its value. Damn straight. Now, everyone, quoting Keiser, is moving towards the Bitcoin standard, just like we used to be on a gold standard. You had gold in your treasury that you would trade with other countries. And countries with a lot of gold did a lot of trading and grew and became bigger countries. On a Bitcoin standard, El Salvador will have Bitcoin in reserves in their treasury to trade with other countries because no other country will accept fiat. They don't want paper money, and they're looking to accept gold. And Bitcoin is demonetizing gold the same way gold demonetized silver. Now, El Salvador has designed a daily Bitcoin purchase strategy, buying 1 coin per day. In this regard, Stacy Herbert, director of On BTC, said that this action is a sign of the Salvadoran president's vision, referring to Bukele, quoting her here. It is step by step. In the long scheme of history, this is an extraordinary, rapid transformation of El Salvador. But every day you have to add and build on that vision. And the vision is always upward. Step by step, you go upward. She also noted that the nation is the most transparent on the issue, as anyone can know how much Salvador owns. El Salvador, that's right, quoting her again. El Salvador is now the most transparent government in the world because you can see our strategic reserves. Do we know how many dollars the United States prints? Do we know how much gold the Fed keeps? Nope. We don't know that information, and we are not authorized to know. Instead, everyone in the world can go to the bitcoin.gov.sv site, and they can see the reserves of El Salvador. Stacy Herbert makes some great points here. Now, finally, the president's advisors stated in the coming months, the On BTC will focus on the creation of Bitcoin banks. Bitcoin banks, please stand up, which are important for generating capital markets. The government had already proposed a private investment bank in the Legislative Assembly, which will allow investors to grant loans to any of the legal currencies, dollars, or Bitcoin. Imagine being able to borrow against your Bitcoin and then paying off the loan and getting your Bitcoin collateral back. Well, that's happening with the Bitcoin banks in El Salvador. Quoting them here, quoting Max. El Salvador is attracting investments because it'll be the first country with a Bitcoin bank. That means that entrepreneurs can use their Bitcoin as collateral to implement some leverage in their companies. Just because you have Bitcoin as your base layer doesn't mean you have to make leverage efforts. And with a Bitcoin bank that allows you to deposit your Bitcoin and lend with your Bitcoin, you have the opportunity to create new companies. As a part of how capitalism works, Bitcoin is perfect capital. Preach. So there you go, yo. And as I pointed out, please attack me so that Bitcoin can go to 100,000, 200,000, 1 million per coin. Let me know if you agree or disagree with the Keisers and the latest with what I just shared with you. And shout out Bukele again, El Salvador, the rest of the fam. Shout out everyone just tuning in, and welcome to the Q&A segment of the live stream.